Yeah, Arvind, you can go ahead.
So, warm good evening to everyone present here. Uh, myself is thank you, Ilya, for a good introduction about myself. Uh, to be frank, uh, this crash course will brush up you how to appear in the UGC net to get a successful JRF category. Because the revamp's aim and objective is to train the people to reach the higher scales of the educations. And I'm happy to be part of the one. And thank you, Kumar, for it. And for today, I will be taking up the Unit 3 comprehension as well as NEP, National Education Policy 2020, and the constitution provisions related to the education. The Mr. Kaliyaperumal will come back to you. For just today, I'm capturing this session. And what I guarantee you that from today's session, minimum 5 marks from comprehension to maximum 8 marks can be gathered. The remaining six, seven, eight, the other three questions could be come from NEP 2020, the policies one, as well as the constitutional provisions of education. Therefore, the minimum guarantee from the today's session is 5 marks, and the max 5 questions to be exactly, and the maximum will be 8 questions. So 5 into 2 is equal to 10, or 8 into 2 is 16. So you could easily score about 16 marks maximum, and minimum 10 marks is guaranteed by getting into this session, uh, by getting a little bit about this session. So usually, many finds that the comprehension is somewhat tough to understand. The English comprehension for non for government school students and the non Hindi medium or the regional medium students, but it is not so because the reading comprehension passage what they give in this examination is just around two paragraph, especially two paragraph, or to be say it is just around uh, 8 to 8 sentence, maximum 8 sentence. So it can be read at your leisure pace, and can everyone can, if you work a lot, can guarantee get a 10 marks and 5 correct answers. Because it is in UGC net. Most probably, you will get a lot of time for writing the paper one question, because I hope that everyone must and will be strong in your paper two, which is your coursework. So usually it's my idea. You may or may not follow this idea, but it's what worked out for me while appearing for the UGC JRF. That I first attended the paper two session, and after completing the paper two session, because it carries a lot, huge amount of marks, I currently went to the paper one session, which I gave a lot of time, because the paper one is a general aptitude, which is common for all, and it is the one which makes you or breaks you. That it makes you a JRF candidate or just a UGC net pass candidate. Therefore, do given importance to the paper one, and paper two is also more important for getting into a JRF, for getting an UGC net. Whereas paper one is what makes you or cracks you into an JRF candidate. Sure, I will soon share my screen. For the introduction, I just say that it's about the importance of paper one, and the objective is the crash course. So you will not go as much as detail, but from a how to answer these questions to a probability of high success rate. That's what we are going to help with you. and we are gonna we are because we are like you 3 years 4 years back as a student who wrote the UGC net and who are cracked and cleared it, and we share our one and will help you to pass through and get a JR of this time. And Kalya Perumal is one who have attended the last lectures. 3 or 4 lectures will be great. One to have it. So coming now to the comprehension of Unit 3, as you said, there are 10 units. Each unit usually have around 5 questions, so 50 questions. This unit is English comprehension. What I advise, you may or may not follow, it worked out for me, is given more, let's say, 10 minutes for this section, minimum. 10 minutes for exclusive for the section to get an 10 marks or 5 questions right. And add on with this later part of the session, I will cover about the NAP policies as well as the constitutional provisions. Because in this last year questions while observing, we could find the importance of NAP questions, and the constitutional provisions has been asked in, let's say, 1 or 2 questions. So maximum 3 questions could be asked from this 2 sections, and guarantee 5 questions from the comprehensive session. So let's get into the how to given comprehensive attempt and comprehensive question and given probability of success for the question. Let me share my screen. Okay, I hope everyone is visible. The full screen of my one. Can you please anyone uh, given? Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, so it's a unit three. The UGC net has presented what's given in the syllabus is passage to be given and questions to be asked for the passage to be answered. This is what given in the syllabus paper. So in every question there will be mandatory 5 questions. Place at last or in the middle based on your order. So what the major questions which we what the major questions this has to be addressed is that these comprehensions uh, you will get as I already said, it's about 2 paragraphs maximum length, and it is most often easy only. So don't panic for the non English medium or the regional medium students. It can be easily taken with a piece of cake. So what I cover here is, and I took out the example from the last previous year question papers, because the previous year question papers we have 2 sessions, about shift A, shift B, and from around 10 to 15 days section. So you will get a lot of question papers, but I selectively taken 3 questions of the previous year's questions based on their toughness. The first question which I post and will discuss here will be of medium one. And the second question is somewhat easy type. The third, the final question will be of a hard type. So I categorize these comprehensive questions into 3 types based on their the toughness. But once I will explain you how it is easy to go through it. It is not an, it is a piece of cake for everyone. I hope, and I hope everyone will get 100% in this session as comparatively to the one. But do give it 10 minutes read for this session. So now let's get on to it. Let me, like in a small introduction about the comprehension. So what's the objective is to detect the key sentence and the ideas of the passage is what our objective should be. And what we have to improve our reading speed as we are scholars and soon to be an scholars. I hope that every reading speed of every person will be good. What's the use of this? Reading comprehension is to solve the skills in reading or comprehend the meaning of the passage. So what's objective while it has been given in this examination is to test our retention. So how we are retaining the ideas and how we are retaining our ideas to implement in the further one. It's the major objective which has been they have placed this one in every competitive exams. What we can do to get a 100% is solve as much as previous year questions, especially in the comprehensions. Don't go for any books or other things. Just solve the previous year question as much as possible when you're on your free time, when you're in your break time while reading the other part of paper one or paper two. Just solve it and then you will get to know. Because you will improve your reading skills and your retention skills, and therefore you could increase your probability of 100% marks in this one. So while the passage will be given, we could easily gain familiarity with the topic or the sense of a passage, what is the idea and the summary. That's how to be detected earlier. Uh, how we can easily observe is by reading the one we could observe. For example, I will say in the future due course how we could observe the style and the tone of the passage. So whenever you read a, passage, yes, you have 10 minutes time. Always ask you either to write down or to in your memory get to comprehend what is the topic of this passage. So and what is the view of the author who's trying in this passage? Either it's a positive, negative, or a neutral tone. And what is the fundamental argument or the theme of the passage? The hypothesis argument of this passage. He may give, for example, he may give like let's say an example that an author gives that education is bad in India, and he will say about why it is bad in India by giving some analysis with the statistics and facts. That's the question they used to ask in the reading comprehension ones. So we have to analyze what it is and illustration of fundamental the same as I said previously. For example, in the case of India's poor education system, they will give out the fact that there are less number of schools and etc. etc. This is what usually been shown in the reading comprehension passages. So let's usually in a long reading comprehensive passages, they will have an conclusion part to it. Whereas in most of the ones there will be the introduction and the main passage. So some may have a conclusion, some may not have conclusions based on the size of the passages. But for our net UGC JRF, it is more on easy passages, so don't worry. It's an by trading a lot, and I will say how to attempt the questions to get an successful answers. So a little bit about the comprehension and complex process, which will help for reading skill, grasping the idea, how to link the ideas and the data, what to infer, what you get from the one can be observed from the reading comprehension passage. So comprehension means getting the whole passages into a simple line. What you observe from this one. This is what you will be reading as a future scholars. Therefore, it is more like a type of training to get to be addressed into the type of training to get to make you to enter into an scholars to become a scholar. So I will give you some techniques used to make the comprehension reading passages easy. Is to detect the key ideas. There are some keywords usually in every passages. Let's say climate change in some, let's say education in some, uh, etc. Whereas as we are usually attend UGC JRF, it will be maximum questions. What I observed is about education. For example, Vivekananda says about education or Ambedkar's view on education is what they might have put out. It is some of the examples. So we could identify the key ideas what they're trying to want by just by glancing through the comprehension, and we could summarize each paragraph. As it is a little bit paragraph, we could summarize. Let's say example in first paragraph, the author of the passage might summarize why this education in India is not good. And the second example, second paragraph, we say that what's need to be improved in the passage. It's some of the example I'm saying. So summarize the ideas of passage. So we could say whether he say it directly or indirectly just by reading through it. So as we have a lot of, as we should make a 10 minutes minimum for this one, you could, as I said, it is around 8 sentences or 2 paragraph, medium size. So it could, easily it can be attempted. So, and there is another one technique. Usually it happens, which I strongly recommend that before reading just glance of a passage, just glow a glance. I said not to read it. First stage of comprehension, just go a glance of passage and immediately start reading the questions first, not the passages, reading the questions first. And after reading each and every questions, then read the comprehension, the paragraph. Then you will easily, your brain will easily accommodate the already read up questions. Therefore, your brain is easily catch up the answers to be looked for in the passages which you are intended to read next. So, what I advise is to first read the questions first, then read the answers. I mean the comprehensions. Then on the third stage, you just give an answers to it. By reading the questions again. It's one of the methodology which usually helps a lot in answering the reading comprehensions in an easy and successful manner. So let's get into the problem solving. I would say how the paper is to be solved in an easy manner. In an easy manner. But the following steps I have, I say, the forthcoming presentations in my screen sharing. As of now, everyone is clear. Is there anyone have a little doubt in what I'm saying? Yeah, hello. Yeah. So I take it everyone is comfortable with their yeah, everyone is comfortable with their one. So what I have previously said that I have taken three set of questions. The first set of questions is from 2023 one. The and It is a medium type question. Just go through it. I just uh, lightly say how to. Just go through it and see. I said it is around 2 paragraph questions. Three, and there are 5 questions. One and two, three, four, and 5 questions will be there. I already know. So I read out the one. As I said, first read out the questions as first. The statement they have given is news publisher have better information about their users as compared to a social media platform. I said not to go reading the questions in a strong manner, but in a light manner, not an intense manner. Statement two is social media platforms are generally very particular in presenting correct information to the citizens. So this is a question you read. I just give you around 2 seconds to read it. I will move on to the second questions. The second question is said that correct the state. So social media platforms have impacted the local news publisher adversely. Social media platform make much more money as compared to the individual newspapers. The second statement. Newspaper publishers are better placed than social media platform because of the size and information they have about the users. That's the third statement. And you can just go through the next question. Correct information is needed by a citizen to make an important decision about their communities, lives, governments, newspaper vendors. Just focus on concentrate on this one. And the 49th one is statement one. There is a rivalry among news publishers. The statement two is many social media platforms have gone bankrupt. So these are the we have to find the true or false, which I'll explain how. Just read to the statement. On the last question, question number five. This assertion and the reasoning will explain in the laws what's how to attempt this assertion and reasoning. Just read the one. As far as now, the social media platforms are able to control the type of content that will appear in a reader's feed. The reason they have given is they do so because they are quite concerned about individuals' likes and dislikes of the users. So this is what they have given the question. So first step is reading through these questions and grasp in your mind. And I will at the end of the session I will share with it. You could solve yourself these questions, and the later on questions we will get to know how to the three stages of our reading comprehensions. So okay. So I'm just reading the passages. The social media platforms have significant advantage over news publishers because of their size and superior information about users. The first question, the major point. The second is driven by need to generate maximum possible returns for investors. They do not shy away from leveraging this advantage when negotiating commercial agreements. So the first says about the social media advantages over news publishers and how they always take an advantage for commercial agreement. The second one, while news publisher in many countries have come together as a consortium to further their collective interest, the rivalry among news publishers prevent them from presenting an united front to bargain for their collective interest. As a result, in individual negotiation with social media platforms, the revenue share, if they get any, is trivial compared to the total money made by social media platforms. So, what the key idea from the second is that we could easily observe that the news publishers are not united uh, in in countering the social media. So the revenue share is also lower for them. It's what's the key idea. The third one is local news publishers, often very small, suffer disproportionality to the extent that many have gone bankruptcy in last few years. Who have gone? From this line, what we can observe that the local newspaper have gone bankruptcy. Those who have survived have become more content producing vendors. That is the local newspapers. They exist to feed the social media monster, which decide which article will appear in which reader's feed to maximize advertising revenues. The journalistic responsibility to provide citizens with information they need to make important decisions about their lives, communities, governments is a seldom considered. So, by reading this one, everyone good idea could know the whole what is the whole theme of the whole paragraph. I could say social media and how it take over the news channel outlets. The whole idea of the one. As we have read the questions first, we could easily find out that error in the question because we have second read the reading comprehension and get to know the truth. So let's say in the first questions, they have given that news publishers have better information about their users as compared to the social media platform. If you observe it, it is false because here it is the first one they have said that social media platform has significant advantage over news publisher because of the size and superior information. So the statement one is false. Here you have to use the elimination techniques, that is A, B, C, D, which is given below. So the statement one is false, as you know that the first line counteracts this one. Therefore, the statement A is false means that we could easily cancel out the options which says statement one is true because statement one is false, as you know. Therefore, option C and A are gone out. So we will finally we have to answer. The answer is between B and D because strongly know that statement one is false. So B which says that both statement one and two are false, or D which states that statement one is false but statement two is true. We have to find whether the statement two is true or false. The statement second says that social media platforms are generally very particular in presenting correct information to the citizens. That is also false. We could infer from the second paragraph, third paragraph, that it is not so, because they will uh, provide the information which only the users want. Therefore, the statement two is also false. So we could find out that the answer is B. Both statement one and two are false. Social media platforms are generally very particular in presenting information is to the citizen is false, because it is not to the citizens they are answering. It is to maximize the advertising revenues. We find in the third one. So that's how we would finalize the B is the answer here. And likewise, the same thing. We could eliminate the options easily here. For example, read the sentence. The social media platform are impacted the local newspaper adversely. That's true, because it is said in the third paragraph. C, the local newspapers, often very small, suffer adversely. So one is true. And the statement two, so for one is true means we could easily eliminate option B and C. What left is option A and D. So the statement two is social media platforms are generally very particular in presenting correct information to the citizens. So we could see that very particular in presenting correct information to the citizen. Uh, yeah, that's true, because it is said so in the second paragraph and the third paragraph. Therefore, we could uh, 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 I mean, the social media platforms are, sorry, we have misplaced the question. The B is the social media platforms make much more money as compared to the individual newspapers, news publishers. That's true, because it is said in the first paragraph, have significant advantages and they are the social driven. So A and B are true. Whereas in C, we see that news publishers are better placed than social media platforms because of the size and information. So C is wrong, because the first statement counteracts the C statement. So we can eliminate C from the down options, and we will left only with A. So 47, the answer will be A. Likewise, if the 48 is easy questions among the five, because it is given in the one, correct information is needed by citizen to make important decisions about their A, government communities, B, lives, C, government, D, newspaper vendors. If you go to the last paragraph, you see that a journalistic responsibility to provide citizen with lives, communities, and government, whereas it is given in newspaper vendors. So eliminating D, A, B, 3s are given. Therefore, we could go of the options A. Likewise, let's say for the question number 49, the statement one, which says that there is rivalry among newspapers. Yes, it is said in the newspaper. I mean, the paragraph two. The statement two says that many social media platforms have gone bankruptcy. No, it is a local social media platform. I mean, it has gone bankruptcy. So it is counteract the so statement two is wrong. So we could see that which statement is correct is C statement, because the statement one is correct and the statement two is false. So option will be C. Likewise, for the question 50, the social media platform are able to control the content type of content that will appear in the news's feed. And the reason they given is they do so because they are quite concerned about the individual likes and dislikes of users. So we could choose the option is first assertion is a statement which is usually directly or indirectly given about the passage, and the reason is also will be taken out from the passage. We have to find whether A is true or false based on the reason. The reason will say that A is true or false. First, we could see that the social media platforms are able to control the type of content that will appear in the rules feed. That's true, because it is said in the first sentence of this paragraph. So A is correct. And the reason they say that they do so because they are quite concerned about the visuals likes and dislikes of the user. That's false, because they doesn't concern about the users that can be seen in this what the the second line of the first paragraph to generate one, and also it has been shown in the last paragraph, those who survived have become the more content producing winter. So we could point out or find out the answer is A is correct, and the reason they given for the A is wrong. Therefore, we could choose with the option C. A is correct, but R is not correct. So these are the answers which I have been given for the future references. Now we go to the one of the easier section of them. I mean, the first one is medium level is completed, and then the easier level just been given on 29 to JRF questions. It is about this passages. Passages has been given, and 5 questions, which is our single line questions, are given. So it is an easy, less, like I said, you have to go with the first uh, the questions, the question you have to read the question. For example, what are WHO guidelines on air pollution not binding on the member states? We could sign it. Not all countries are WHO members. Air pollution is not a serious problem. Guidelines do not have legal sanctity. Guidelines lack scientific evidence. And 47 questions. The measure adopted by the WHO limit of air pollution is to present a global picture, take a serious view, initiated practices, setting a new standard of air quality in the updated guidelines. So likewise, 48, WHO advises to the public is identify the source of air pollution, change lifestyle, stay indoor, incinerate plastic waste. And 49 question is they have given the major inference, that is the idea which you drawn from the passages, not ignore the harmful effect of air pollution. People should make a change about the business practice. Policymaker mitigate an air pollution by the initiative. The WHO has updated its air quality guidelines offer. And the last question there is, what is the WHO reference for the policymakers? Reduce ozone level, promote advocacy group, threshold concentration of identity pollutants, focus on all type of health risks. So by reading this question, you will get some idea about how to attempt these questions. So and the first step is reading the question, then let directly go to the passage. I read out the passages for the sake, and you can post the class. You can take it, usually read it. So according to the World Health Organization, air pollution is now comparable to other global health risks like unhealthy diets and smoking tobacco. It is recognized as the single biggest environmental threat to human health. WHO guidelines, which are not legal binded and intended as a reference for policymakers, advocacy groups, academics to play permissible concentration of 6 pollutants known to have impact on health. 2 types of particulate matter known as PM 2.5, PM10, as well as ozone, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide. The guidelines could also send a message to the wider public about the lifestyle, business choices, whether it is driving cars and trucks, disposing of garbage, working in industrial jobs, or farming. WHO says that a main human generated source of air pollution can vary geographically, but include the energy and transportation section, as well as waste dump sites and home cooking and heating. It advised people to do their part by changing their lifestyle, not running cars engine useless, avoid use of plastics that could end up being incinerated, and walking, riding bicycle, using public transportation to get to the work. Uh, It should be noted that because of air pollution, the simple act of breathing contributes to 7 million deaths a year. Almost everyone around the world is exposed to the unhealthy level of air pollution. The harmful effects of air pollution kick in at lower level than the previously thought that the World Health Organization has said, as it has set a new standard for policymakers, the public in the first update of its air quality guidance in 15 years. Since last update of WHO recommendations, better monitoring, science have cleared up the global picture about the effects of 6 major pollutants on human health. According to the agency, 90% of the world's people already live in areas with at least one particular harmful type of pollutants. So, by reading this one, we get that the overall idea is about the air pollution and the effects of air pollution and the WHO's intended advice to it. So, the entering into the question part, we have discussed the what are the WHO guidelines on air pollution not binding on the member states. Why? Because as we read that in the second paragraph, uh, it is technically which are not legally binding and indent. While it is because not in the passage. It is not said not all countries are WHO members. It is not said in the passage, and it is also not said that air pollution is still not a serious problem. Uh, and the guidelines do not have legal sanity. The guidelines lack scientific validation is false because it is given the option D is given scientific validation. So we could point out that guidelines do not have legal sanctity because it is said in the first paragraph, third line, it is not legally binding. Therefore, does not have legal sanctity. So we could point out that 46, the option will be C. And for the 47, the measure adopted by WHO to limit air pollution is, so what are the measures they have adopted? First, they have given the present global picture, serious view, limitations. No, because the option will be B, because it is said in the paragraph that setting a new standard of air quality in updating guidelines. You see in the second paragraph, WHO said it has set a new standard of policymakers and the policy in the first updated of its air quality in 15 years. So the measure adopted is updating this foreign its policies every 15 years. That's how we could ended up in getting 47 as a T. So WHO advice to the public could see from the one, it is about changing the lifestyle. Changing the lifestyle because the option B, because it will be said in the first paragraph, it is about rather than it is advised to the people do their part by changing their lifestyles. So it is easily adopted that WHO advice to the public is changing lifestyles. It is straightly given in this line. It is advice to the people by changing their lifestyles. And in the 49, the major inference we could draw, because as we have read the passage, that we could easily gather out that overall the passages try to say that not ignore the harmful effects of the air pollution because the other is is also mentioned change in business practice initiatives the guy is often, but the inference is overall what it tried to say is the harmful effects of air pollution. Therefore, the options we can point out that A will be the one. And what is the WHO reference for the policymakers? It is, you see that policymakers, it is in the second paragraph that we could see the line threshold concentration of an identified pollutants is straightly given or taken out from the text. So the option for the 50 will be the C. So likewise, it is for the somewhat moving from an the medium level to an easy level. It's an easy task. For the hard level, I give it as an let's say homework for you to solve it and see through it because the overall give about it is about the Gokhale's view on the education and how it is been uh, that's a whole inference part of it. And the questions will be similar like the statement which we have examined in the first previous one. So you could solve a little bit than that. These are some questions I will give through it, and we have to go for the another two sessions, which is the constitutional part as well as the NEP 2020 part. So I'll just give us an the uh, homework for you to go on through this the third part questions, which will be comparatively easy, guys. I mean, tough in a sense for the first two questions. The third will be is like I said, it is about the reading the questions first and answering the and reading the comprehensions and answering the one. Let's say if you see that what percentage of total expenditure on education should be borne by the state, it is given at 25, 33, 66. So by getting to read this one, you can find that in the third paragraph, you see out of the total expenditure required for it, for the education, two-thirds should be borne by the state and one-third by the local bodies. So what here said the total education should be borne by the state, yes, it is set two-thirds. So the what's the two-third, if we converted into percentage, it is about 66%. So the options will be C for the 46. You observe that 46 option will be C. Likewise, this question, if you read it second, you will find that it has also been repeated in the later questions also. For example, the 40th questions, which says that option D, if you see the 48 questions, option D, which says that Gokhale suggests that majority of expenditure for education should be made by local bodies. But you know that majority of the expenditure of the Gokhale is said it should be borne by the state. So option D will be false. So ultimately, you can, by the elimination techniques, you will see that the major option D is cancelled. B, C, D will be cancelled. The option answer will be A, B, C. So likewise, we can save this time by identifying the single or wrong in any of the questions. Therefore, only I advise you to go for reading the questions first, then reading the comprehensions, then attempting the paper. On completing this as this part of the one, I suggest you to go through a further reading of previous year questions. And now coming on to the constitutional provision of the education, we see that in the recent trends of the as I said, that the minimum 5 marks be guaranteed from the reading comprehensions. The remaining three questions may one may get one questions from constitutional provisions or one or two questions from the NEP questions. So these are the these are some of the important areas. If you easily by going through this one, or you can easily score in a good marks without knowing about the basics of the constitutional provisions which has been given for our educations as we are going to write UGC net. So the constitutional provisions given in this uh, for educations in our constitution on this constitution day of 26th November as the following, it comes under the following head: fundamental rights, DPSP, or Director Principles of State Policies; fundamental duties, rural and urban local bodies, schedules, and tribal areas, central state relations, and languages. The past questions, they what they have asked about, what I let's say they say they ask us to match the articles and what they are linked to it, or they will ask about how the central state relations works, how the bill is being passed, etc., etc. It's a simple question, but recently there is rise in asking the constitutional provision for the education, which will be comes under the education part. So coming on to addressing the fundamental rights, the fundamental rights comes under part 3 of the Constitution. Just remember or mugging up these schedules is so important for appearing before the UGCs. So Article 13 is the law in consistency with or in degree with the fundamental rights. If any law which act against the fundamental rights by Article 13 will be cancelled. It's what said in the 13, Article 13. For example, if a state government or the union government passes a educational law which is against the basic structure the fund or against the fundamental rights, it will be automatically be cancelled. So it doesn't need to go into a judicial interpretation, but for an understanding sake, I say in that Article 13. And the Article 15 says that prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So let's say if they ask the question like that, which of the following articles are related to education? They are given Article 13, 14, 15, 16. Then you have to say that Article 13 and 15 are related to education. So that's how you should know the importance of these constitutional provisions. So Article 21A is more important because it speaks about the right to education and the Right to Education Act. So do remember the important 86th Amendment, which is related to the education, which has been passed in 2002, and just try to mug up these dates, December 2022 or July 2009, and how the Act came into being from 2010. So, and also an important one is in fundamental rights of Article 28 and 30, because 28 says about the freedom to us to attendance as a religious instruction or religious worship in certain education institution, because certain minorities or religious minority education has their own rights. We discuss in the upcoming slides. And 30 is the right of minorities to establish administrated education institutions. They have some specific scopes of educational institution. For example, Jamia Millia Islamia has an independent, as a fundamental rights to establish administrative education institution because they are minority institutions. Because, historically, it is seen the minorities in India has been undergone severe repressions. So that's how the provisions has been given for the safeguard by the constitutional makers on this day, some 75 years, 80 years back. So comes on to the Article 21A, the right to education. Just remember, it is so important. The Article 21A, the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all children of age 6 to 14 years in such as manner as my state may by law. So remember, the age is so important because you have to also remember the TPSP age of the students. So 6 to 14 is a fundamental right. So this is how the Right to Education Act came into being. So Article 21A, you have to remember the age of 6 to 14 years and the Right to Education Act. Likewise, I said that 28, the freedom to attend the religious instruction in certain educational institution. Minority education institution have a right to praise and that's right to follow their own religion or giving a religious sermon. That has been provided as a fundamental right in Article 28. So that's for the religious institution. For example, this religious one should not be given in a school which has been funded by government. Let's say in a government institution, there should not be and religious instruction. That's what the Article 28 1 says, that no religious instruction shall be provided in education institution wholly maintained out of state funds. So that's how the Article 28 1 says that. Likewise, the Article 30s, we say that all minorities based on religion or language, you have to mention not only minorities here in Indian Constitution is defined as religious and language minorities. They have right to establish the education institute in our own choice. For example, if in Tamil Nadu, let's say an religious institution run by an Malayalis is an is a minority institution. So he may be a Hindu or a Christian or Muslim, but he is a Malayali who's been living in Tamil Nadu, has a fundamental right to run an educational institution of his own choice. Therefore, that's said in the Article 30. So that's the remaining Article 1A and 2 says the nuances of the government functioning. Just go through this one. But remember these articles and what they are trying to say. And for the DPSP provisions, these are the articles you have to mark up. Article 37, article which says that application of principle contained in these parts. Article 38, state to secure social order, promote the welfare. 39, certain policies to be followed by state. 40, right to work, right to education is a DPSP provision. Don't forget it. And 45 is a provision of free and compulsory education for children. And the provision for early childhood of education of below age of 6. And 46 is promotion of education interest of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other education. Don't forget it and easily mug up. I'm taking this out of the Ministry of Education website, the context. And 47 is the duty of a state, the level of nutrition and standard of living and to improve the public health. So on going detail into the 45 Article 45 in Part 4 for DPSP, the states shall endeavor to provide within the period of from the Constitution 1 to 14 or to 14 they have to provide free and compulsory education. But as I said that in fundamental rights 20 and A, they have given 6 to 14 is mandatory. It becomes the fundamental rights now because it is the Article 45 was formed initially, but in the later phases in 2002 by the Right to Education Act, the Article 21A has been introduced by 86 Amendment, and it is made for 6 to 14. It is mandatory. It is a fundamental right for the state, the government, to provide free and compulsory education. That's becomes a fundamental rights. Here, the another second point is the state shall endeavor to provide early childhood care and education for all children until they complete the age of 6. So until they complete the age of 6, now it becomes the DPSP provisions, the DPSP the direct principal provisions, and 6 to 14 it becomes an mandatory or compulsory provisions becomes a fundamental rights. So from to 6 to 14, it becomes a fundamental right of a citizen to ask the state to provide a free and compulsory education. So remember, Article 21A on Article 45 is related to the free and compulsory education for children. It may ask in the upcoming questions. So this is one of the important provisions. Don't forget it. And try to memorize the other articles 46, 47, 37, etc. And one of the other one important one is the fundamental duties. It comes under 4 part 4A, and the schedule article is 51A, fundamental duties. And in the fundamental duties there are around 10, but it doesn't need if you you can just go through it rather than not try to remember as the whole. But don't forget to memorize this important point, that is that especially the point of regarding to education, that is K, whose parent is a guardian to provide opportunity for education to child, as a case may be ward between age 6 and 14. So it's put a duty on our citizens. So usually fundamental duty is duty on the citizen. Put on K that it has to be the fundamental duty of every citizen to put their children of 6 to 14 to school. That's the K. The duty of citizen. K is more important. And here the G is also more important, because as you have an environmental session in the other upcoming unit, the G is also important to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have a compassion for the living creatures. It is also an important. So try to remember these two one in fundamental duties. Likewise, the part 9 on part 9A, that is Panchayat and municipalities, which has given the articles 243B and G, 243Q and W, and schedule 11 and 12. There they have given about the education. Just remember this one for go through it for attending the six. This is one of the 12 schedules which is given. You can find the importance of educations that it has been given in the 13th point, the promotion of cultural education and the aesthetics. So try to remember this one by reading, going through this one. And finally, we could go through the scheduled tribes and tribal area on Article 244 in the administration of schedule, that is fifth and sixth schedules. It is also mentioned about the need of education for the tribal areas, the scheduled areas and tribal areas. Try to remember the states, and we have to say that even the provision of education is given in this one. And the center-state relations is one of the more important and a complicated one, because see that education is placed in a concurrent list. So you have to remember this articles 246 to 254 is also aligned to the education's one. What happens is if a law has been made by the union government can make law in union list and the concurrent list. The state government can make law in state list and the concurrent list. As education in concurrent, as you know, every education is in concurrent list. Therefore, the state has a power to make law about education. Even the union government has a power to make law about education. But here, the union government law has more power than the state law. Therefore, only we are in Tamil Nadu. You know that the fight for NEET is on, because it contradicts the union and the state government power. So try to remember the one, and I will say the list of union, state list, and concurrent list, which shows the education's role in it. For example, in the union government, memorize this list: 63, 64, 65, 66. It directly speaks about education. That is 66 is an institution known as Aligarh Muslim University. That's more important than 63 one, because it says that an institution known as commencement of this constitution as the BHU, when Aligarh Muslim University and Delhi University is under the purveyance of Article 371E decided by the Parliament. So 63 is important, and 64 is also important. It shows that it is a union list, because for BHU, Aligarh Muslim University, it is the union government has to make the power. The institution for scientific and educational tech education financed by Government of India wholly in part and declared by the Parliament to be the institution of national importance. 64 is also important. Likewise, just go through the 63, 64, 65, 66, and memorize in the large aspects. Likewise, for the state list, it is only one number, that is 32. That is incorporation, regulation, winding up of corporations, other than specified in the list one, and universities, and incorporating the religious and other associations. So the universities doesn't comes and has an the state universities has power over only by the state government. That's how it is been placed in the state list. The municipality which is not been comes under the union list. And then the concurrent list is number 25, the education, which includes the technical education, medical education, and the universities. Subject to the provisions which has been given 63, 64, 65, 66 of list one vocational and training, technical training of labor. So these remembrance of this concurrent list and their number is mandatory, as it may surely will should not comes into the paper, and you will easily get one box. So don't try to do so with the one box, or sorry, one question comes to 2 marks. And the final one is the language. Even the language scales and Article 344, 8th Schedule 350A, 351 has an impact over the language, because in 351 there is a directives for the by the union government to have and give importance to the Hindi language. Therefore, we could find a lot of funding for the Hindi languages and then the center for the Hindi languages in every universities. Therefore, the language part is also more important. It's been directly given from the particle part 17. So these are some educational, some constitutional provisions about the education, which needs to be covered up. And maximum a question may come out from this class, one or two questions. So coming on to the new education policy 2020, there are many new education policies before it, but recently the rise of asking questions is mostly targeted from this new education policy. We will go in detail of reading this new education policy. The notes I share is my own notes from Ronald sir, and he may have written some Hindi words. So just ignore the facts of the title given to the notes which I shared. So just you have to remember this one. So what 42, how Unitary Education Commission formed, Secondary Education Commissions, 64 to 66, and Dr. S. Kothri, National Policy of Education 1968, 1976, 46, 42nd Constitution of Amendment of Putting Education, National Policy on Education 86 and 1992, how it has been modified. These just go through a timeline. So I hope it won't be asked in the detail like NEP. Just go through it and try to remember who headed the educational commissions. For example, Education Commission of 64 to 66 is important because decided by D.S. Kothri. And the important aspects is 2015 to 16. That is TSR Subramanian Committee for Education Policy. And 17 to 19, that Dr. K. Kasturirangan Committee. The same for the educational one, try to remember for your environmental aspects in the environmental questions. It is the same Dr. K. Kasturirangan Committee who headed the committee to know about the welfare of the Western Ghats. So try to remember it is the same committee. The Kasturirangan headed two committee, one for education and one another for environment. So don't forget his name. So how it has been changed. So before that, that is you could see the two ages from 10 ages, 6 to 10, 16. It is about till class 10. For the class 11 and 12, it's age 16 to 18. Now it has been changed into this aspects. That is for foundations, they have given us class 1 and 2 for 2 years, class 1 and 2, that is in age 6 or 8. And for the preparatory, it is for class 3 to 5, that is age 8 to 11. For the middle school, they have given class 6 to 8, and age is 11 to 14. And for the secondary, it is ages 14 to 18, and it's class 9 to 12. That's been changed because it is before that it is about 10 and 12. Now it has been, the divided into foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary. These texts, please make an important note of it because these have been literally taken out from the NEP, the large text of NEP 1. for the examination sake. So, what are the reforms which has been given for the primary education? So, first one is the education of primary. So, what the target of the NEP is 100% gross enrollment rate from preschool to secondary school education by 2030. Try to remember this date for years because last year or 2022 there has been question about by which year the gross enrollment rate has to be achieved by NEP 2020. So the answer is 2030. So remember this 2030 years too. And another thing is National Mission on Foundation Literacy and Numeracy to ensure by 2025 that all children in class 3 are able to do basic level of reading and math. So we have to remember the national mission of a foundation of literacy and numeracy. What is objective and what it is to be ensured. Try to remember the year and the objective. So there is no separation between science or commerce, no separation between curricular and extracurricular, no separation between occasional and academic years, which has been before NEP. And the occasional education, which usually happens after 10th, will be start from class 6 onwards with internship. It is what is due to the NEP. And it also shows that the counselors, social workers will be included in NEP, the psychological counsel, sexual harassment, and it will be addressed. Then open distance education is also introduced for the class 3, 5, 8. Before that, the open education is for usually about 10th and 12th. Now, as with this categorization, it has been changed. Likewise, another important target is to bring 2 crores out of school children back into students. Out of school children is one who goes out of the school due to various economical activity, poverty, etc. It is to target these students back into the school is what one of the target of NEP. So don't forget the targeting. And what there are Bal Bhagavans and Samjik Chetana Kendras. These are some of the initiatives of NEP. Just go through it because share the slide in our group. They just go through it. The one, the daytime boarding school, social conscious center. These are some important extra nuances. Try to remember this one. And from we have gone from the primary. So now it's about the primary to the EEC. So what is EEC is early childhood care and education. So for up to class 12, the curriculum is being developed by NCRTs, the National Curriculum Framework for School Education. Okay. Then for class 8, the NCRT to develop this one, the National Curriculum and Pedagogy Framework for early childhood care and education. So which of the ministries will be involved? They may ask you this one. This is Ministry of HRD, the Education Ministry, which has been changed. Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Tribal Affairs will join implement the ECCE, that is Early Childhood Care and Education. So ECCE it is also improve the syllabus and the type of methodology for teaching too. So the language and the medium of education which has been advised or advocated by the NEP is that it should be up to class 5. It is definitely the regional mother tongue. Even up to the class, it is what given in the first. The Sanskrit medium is offered. This is one of the contended portion of NEP. And the secondary level, foreign languages will be offered. The 3 language policy. It is usually followed. The previous one is also be followed. The 3 language policies, first is mother language, that is your second is Hindi or Sanskrit, third is English or French. This 3 language policy advocated by NEP. And no language will be imposed on the student because the reason and the recent issues of the imposition of the history of politics of Indian imposition. So the new organization for Pali, Persian, and Prakrit will be introduced, and Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation is also will be introduced. So for the higher education aspects, so the target provided by the NEP is gross enrollment rate has to be increased from 26% in 2018 to 50% in 2035. Here it is also in the core text of NEP said that 3.4 admissions in higher education is a target, and a combination of subjects and the multidisciplinary course to be introduced. For example, philosophy, architecture, earth science, and architecture. It's a new methodology of mixing. So in the next 15 years, that's the NAP policy is also given that more autonomies to be the colleges to be given, and the private colleges or have a more autonomy doesn't needs to link to the some universities. That's how the NAP has been written. So the new concept of NAPs, the higher education, especially is the credit, introduction of credit. Yesterday, Kalia might have introduced a lot about it. But here the NEP also follows the US pattern. So the one few, for example, by getting 280 degree, you get a master's, you have to complete the 280 degree in whichever subject you might be interested in. It is what it is. As most of you may or master students, so you will know about the credit-based semester system, CBSE, in different universities. So here in NEP 2020, there is an academic bank of ABC, the ID card. As in our universities, that's 2 semesters back. It is mandatory for us to submit an academic bank of credit. For example, I have a number of credits. I can do this course in Jamia Millia University or Delhi University, and the credit will be added to the academic bank of credit, and I may pass my semester here. That's an academic bank of credit that is mandatory in our universities recently to have an academic bank of credits. It's so great, one of the system, and it has been implemented by NEP. So the entry and exit course in NEP is somewhat different, and it got many criticism. But for our marks sake and other things, we will explain it. For example, post your 12th, you are joining, let's say, BS degree. In first year, let's say you are joining a course in science, chemistry. So the first year, you will, if you complete the first 2 semesters and gone after the course, you will get a certificate. If in second year you will go, then you will get you will given advanced diploma. So in third year, you will given a bachelor's degree. Whereas in the fourth year, you will given a bachelor's degree with research. So this how the works have been changed, because in the previous exit system you have to complete the 3 years or 4 year courses to get a degree, but in the newly formed NEP they have given like this the exit. So try to remember this years and what type of degrees you get. So this is a potential question getting area. So another important which has been asked previously about this area is Higher Education Commission of India. So what is Higher Education Commission? Which is a single umbrella body for higher education. It doesn't include medical and legal because it have a different idea. Uh, so what the higher education is, it will give a permission, like it may in future may take up UGC because the Higher Education Commission. So because it is UGC will give permissions to the universities to run extra extra, because you know that UGC, as you have Kalya Perumal might have said about yesterday, the UGC's role and when it was formed and etc. It will take it up with the whole role of UGC. It's an umbrella organization. That's how will be. Like UGC, it will be the last line, which given as both public and private higher education institution will be governed by the same set of rules. So in the HECI, that is Higher Education Commission of India, there are 4 important bodies. Remember this one because it already been asked all 2023, to be exactly. So the 4 vertical independent bodies is National Higher Education Educational Regulatory Council, that is for regulation; General Educational Council, that is for standard setting; Higher Educational Grant Council for funding; and National Accreditation Council for accrediting. So remember this one and remember in the same order, because this, by this order they will provide it. So regulation, standard setting, funding, and only accreditation. So remember this bodies inside HEC and what they been functioning. So it is one of a potential question making area, question asking area. And likewise, there are many schemes like multidisciplinary education and research universities, similar to ILAC, the government will set up. It is said in NEP. and National Research Foundation for the whole research one. And the definition of university will expand. That is what said in the NEP. And the ministry is renamed because now it is Ministry of Education. Before that, it is known as Ministry of HR, Human Resource Development. So that's how it has been done. And the NEP also focuses upon the education and adult one. Uh, that is what's the target one is 100% adult literacy for everyone, and life enrichment programs for the old members of a society. And it is said that national book promotion policy, for example, they make the question from which from under which category that national book promotion policy is to be given. Let's say the option may be given for the school education, higher education, or the adult education. You have to know that national book promotion policy is for adult education, and the uniform standard Indian Sign Language for our countries has been developed by NAP. And in terms of open or distance or e-learning, there, as we seen in the earlier, through NIOS for the class 3, 5, 8 has been given. And the MOC, the Master Open Online Course, which has been already exists in a good terms, is also been promoted by NEP. And the content learning in regional language has been encouraged, and the beyond, friendly education software will be developed, etc., etc. And some new organization from the NEP is National Educational Technological Forum will also be developed, because for exchange of idea how to improve the learning, the exams, and the etc. about the admission of school will be developed. So remember, this new organization is National Educational Technological Forum. So in the assessment of students, the NEP also has given out before and after, because from before that it is summative assessment exam. Now it is formative assessment exam. You have to remember this terminology, that formative assessment. We will ask oral answers, go homework, and check the critical analytical thinking and clarity. Not summative means writing exams and omitting it. That's how it has been the NEP has been developed. And the board exams will now, after the NEP, they say it is conduct the core concept and application of knowledge, rather than the marks and the admissions, etc. Uh, and on the assessment of the students, there's a new body, right? Remember this body, it is potential important question asking area called PARAC, the Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. Remember this one, this is for assessment of students. And another is the NTA. NTA is what we have been writing the exams. It will continue to function common entrance for everyone. As we know that year by year, NTA is bringing every universities under this patch. Recently, TIS Mumbai, which usually conducts its own exams, comes under the NTA, which conducts UET. So it's another important one. Post NEP, NTA's powers and existence has been increased. So the assessment of schools. So the each set the assessment of schools. It's the NEP said that state school standards authority should be conducted. What the role of SSA is to facilitate seats, schools, board exams, and etc. etc. The school quality assessment and accreditation framework will check the schools, their accreditations and the other work. So another is the two heading is teachers recruitment and training. Try to remember the year by 2030 by NEP minimum degree qualification is 4-year integrated BE for teachers, school teachers, and NCET, National Council for Technical Education, NCRT will develop one. Will develop on the NCTE will develop national professional standards for teachers. Teacher recruitment will be more transparent, is what said by NEP, and the national mission for mentoring the teachers will also be introduced. And the NEP funding, the more important for the NEP funding, said that the union budget on education was 2.8 annually, which is known that that is been increased to 3% in 2019 and 3.5% in 2020. So what the total investment in India, it is only about 4.4 P GDP between both union and the state government. what the NEP aims. The potential question area asking here is what's the NEP aim for the GDP increase at one is 6% of GDP has to be allotted by the union government for the education. What the NEP aims, and there is national scholarship portals for SCST, OBCs, and gender inclusion funds, especially for the education of children, special education zones for disadvantaged regions. These are the specific titles you have to get to remember. So as we see that the assertion and the reasoning, uh, usually the assertion and reasoning were discussed back. The assertion is a statement and the reasoning is the one given. Usually the four choices will be given. Maximum at the fire stage, it will be around this 5-1. So that both A will be true, both A and R are true, and R is a correct explanation, and R is not a correct explanation. And A is true, B is false. So this is how it usually will be. So it's just an trick, or don't follow me, or don't take it to my heart. It isn't trick for the examinations. That usually in most of the cases, let's say around 40 to 50 or 60K percentage cases, it is mostly the option will be B, that A and R are true, but R is not a correct explanation of A. But the R is a correct explanation of A. That is both A and R are true. R is a correct explanation of A. That may be maximum in 40 to 60 percentage cases, but don't take it me literally. There is a chance. So it is for a trick. If you but most of them will be known, but because you will be strong in either one or the options A, assertiveness, and or the reasoning. So that's how the assertion and the reasoning. Usually, it will be in the future logical reasoning. Logical reasoning will be covered up by Kalipermal, which will be more interesting phase. But for this comprehensive level, as I said, it is somewhat ease of reasoning, and that's how. Oh, as for us now, this is sources I have taken, and thank you. Now over to Ilya.
Uh, Thank you, Ravi, for this session. So, participant, do you have any doubt? Please ask to Aravind regarding MEP, confusion and comprehension. Your voice is not audible. Please text it in the chat box. I think Sarita. No, your audio is not clear. So, others, do you have any doubt? Otherwise, we can wind up today. It's very more than 150 minutes. If you have any doubt, please put in the chat box. Otherwise, we conclude today's session. Hope we will hope you clear understanding on the NEP constitution and comprehension. So we will share the PPT and some of the previous year question papers regarding these things. We will share in the group. Otherwise, if you have any doubt, thank you. So shall we wind up today's session? Okay, I think no one answered it, so I consider we will wind up today's session. So thank you, participants. So please focus on the paper one. These are your scoring areas. So you give more importance in the paper one. And once again, thank you all. Please revision what we are shared in the PPT and previous question paper. It will helpful you. So thank you, Arvind, for this informative sessions, and thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.